Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Jamie Woods back at it with another fire interview. And guys, make sure to hit that subscribe button, the like button, the notification bell, so that way you guys know when I'm dropping that heat. But speaking of that heat, guys, the special guest next to me right now is someone I've been following for a minute. I told him backstage, I'm like, bro, I've been following you since the TikTok days. And I'll never forget watching his videos and just resonating with it. And then I saw him in Brazil. And I told him, bro, you're one of the biggest reasons why I went to Brazil, why I became a Brazil guy. And then I just saw him grow and grow and grow and grow into like the biggest person in the travel space. This was always a dream interview for me. My man got over 100K subs. He on the Mount Rushmore of the travel space. Let's just say that. So it's the biggest interview I've ever conducted. But of course, guys, if you guys don't know who I'm talking about your favorite YouTuber, Austin Hallman. What's going on, man?
I'm blessed, man. I'm here in Namibia, enjoying it a lot more than I expected. Africa has been one of my greatest additions to traveling around the world. And Namibia, Windhoek, Namibia in specific, is a very underrated travel destination. But other than that, I'm back on the road.
So yeah, man. So let's get it started. So what started your travel journey? What is it that made you want to start traveling?
So originally, I traveled not to become a YouTuber, but I traveled. It just so happened to fall into that. It was almost like it was like a divine right sort of situation. But um, I was very frustrated with the social aspect in the USA, and specific in Dallas, Texas. But I traveled to other states, and it really didn't get. Yeah, I mean, of course, it's going to change whenever you travel to different states, but it's still the same country, same similar culture across the nation, same laws. So the culture is going to be, the experience is going to be pretty much very similar no matter where you go. Again, some places are different, some places are better than others, but it wasn't as dramatic as I was thinking. As if I go to a whole nother country like Brazil that speaks a whole nother language, that's on a whole nother continent, that has a whole different history, things could be different with my interaction with people there. And so I actually bought a plane ticket to Rio de Janeiro in February 2022. And before I even got there, I started communicating with people and women and listening to their music. And like even the way how I was communicating with people uh, online was different. You know, the level of interest was different with the women. And we can say that's because I'm a foreigner, yes, but only so much can be faked. You know, I can only imagine if you're a famous basketball player in the States, yes, the women will be more high interest, but they can't do stuff that they don't know how to do. And the thing is, women in other countries do things that women in America used to know how to do. And so that's going back to my main driver, which was women. I was upset with the whole social scene in general and culture and just the tenseness in the United States in general. But the last straw was dealing with women. And I was like, yeah, if I can't deal with women, then like it's a headache and it's stressful to deal with women. I'm gonna have to like that's the deal breaker. I could deal with the rest, but that's the deal breaker. So when I went to Brazil, I knew immediately within the first couple of hours of me being there, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to either just frequently travel to different places or travel to Brazil to get that experience that I want to actually be able to. Because I was making good money as a barber as well, and it didn't really matter because I mean, all I could do was afford things. I couldn't afford those experiences with people, and so it was just one of those realizations where I was like, yeah, if I want to enjoy my money, I feel the way how I like to enjoy it and interact with people, I'm gonna have to leave the country.
So that's interesting, man, because I definitely agree with everything you just said. Like I'm currently in the States right now. I'm from the tri-state area, from New York, New Jersey. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it is because I know you're from Dallas, right? Am I correct about
Mm-hmm.
that? Yeah, so over
Mm-hmm.
here, it's bad, man. It's bad in the tri-state. It's very competitive. A lot of people, a lot of stuff going on. So I get what you're saying. But to dive deeper into the dating scene in Dallas, what are a couple things you didn't like exactly about the dating scene over there?
So the biggest thing about Dallas was like it was like super. Number one, the women there were super immature, super immature. I mean, grown children is what I describe them as. Grown children, whatever age they are, you can subtract 10 years from that, and that's going to be the experience. So if she's 21, it's going to be like talking to an 11-year-old. Literally, I mean, the games that they play, the topics that they choose to talk about, the things that still wow them, like you know, they're still thinking like I couldn't date women. I was 23 when I first 22 whenever I first left the States to Brazil, and I could not date women that were my age until I left the country because the maturity level was just way too off. So they're super immature, they're super rude, right, and they're masculine. So overall, like I don't. And some dudes are like, yeah, you gotta adjust. Yeah, I have a hard time doing that, man. I have a hard time, tolerating bullshit. Like, for example, when I was in Botswana, I loved being in Habaroni, Botswana, but the women were beautiful there. They were super friendly, but a lot of them just had this very childish mindset. A lot of them, not all of them, but majority of them I ran into just seemed like they were just very childish, and that hasn't been everywhere around the world. But I do know certain cultures or certain dynamics of how safe a country is, how economically developed it is, make people grow up slower. And so, yeah, I think that was the baseline of everything in Dallas, which was that I grew up pretty fast. I had to, and so yeah, I don't really vibe with people that grow up slow.
Do you ever see yourself dating back in the United States or moving back there?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely.
I knew the answer. I
I
just
will
had
be
to
on
ask
monk
that.
mode. I will be on monk mode if I go back over there.
Yeah, that's funny, man, because it's so bad here, man. Like, lucky for me, I've had a little bit of success recently, but I ain't gonna lie, there was a good year or two, man. Nothing was going on, man. It's so competitive over here. Like, you have to have everything and then some just to attract an average girl over here.
Yeah,
Before
yeah,
it
no, no,
wasn't
no.
like that.
Yeah, it's in like people might listen to what I'm saying and think that I was just bone dry and a virgin when I left the States and I had no experience with women. That wasn't the case. It just was the amount of self development and career development I had to do to even, like you said, become attractive. And then the amount of work you had to still put, you might as well be nothing. You might as well be ugly, broke, everything that would deter women. You might, even if you are successful, you might as well be that because you're gonna put in the same amount of work.
Well, here's the way I like to look at it, Austin, because I did see a live that you had, I think, during that time where you went back to the United States. You were in Texas for a little bit, I think for a month. And so, how was your experiences going back to Texas? Because at that point, you were successful. I mean, I'm a straight man, but I could say you're a good looking dude, right? You got everything going for yourself. How's your experience? Did it differ from when you left?
It was either the same or it was worse. The
Wow.
reason I maybe it was worse because I wasn't trying as much as I should have because like the way how the interactions were going all like it was like nothing had changed. I'm pretty sure if I would have actually been trying to convince, like some people advise, convince and try to actually get a date. I was there for 3 weeks. I was there for 3 weeks and I couldn't get a date. Three
Wow.
weeks. 3 weeks, and we can't say it's not because the dating coaches like to say it's because you don't have any status. On live, you would see people stopping me. They recognize me from YouTube, so I have
I
a
mean,
status
Austin, you had
worldwide at this
100K
point.
people yesterday, man, on your YouTube. 100K.
Yeah, yeah. I have a status. People know
Hmm.
me worldwide. When I came to Namibia, this is my first time here. People that say they have been watching me for 2 or 3 years. So people around the world. So it's not the status thing. It's not that I'm out of shape. It's not because I'm bald. It's just that scene over there is just done.
Toxic.
Yeah.
So let me say this. So, because we were just talking about status, has that ever worked against you in the United States? Like, have you ever like tried to go on a date or whatever the case is, and someone's like, "No, I can't date you because I've seen you on the internet." And it doesn't have to be the United States. It could probably be like worldwide.
Around the world, okay, so outside the United States, that happens very rarely, maybe 5% of the time, maybe even less than that. Actually, yeah, it's probably happening on one hand. I can count on one hand how many times it's happened. Maybe it's because they looked at my whole Brazil article, or maybe I was back in those red pill stage days where I was doing a lot more critiquing on women, and so of course it's going to turn some women off. But even then, it wasn't happening that often, so not really. But in the states, the women in the states, see, the thing with them is they when they meet a guy that's attractive, they're always like, oh, it's too good to be true. Let me try to find something wrong.
Hmm.
They're not
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
figure out they're not trying to figure out who you are. They're trying to figure out they're literally looking for a problem. So then they start shit testing you. They start saying just they start self sabotaging the entire situation. So I had a chick, and it's been well known. I've went back to Brazil. I've never been banned from any country. I can go back to every country I've been to. Uh, I've never been notified by any government. I've never been banned. Those are just things that people throw out there to to defame. And we all know that Brazil situation was something blown out of proportion. I went back to Brazil and I went to 3 cities and I stayed for 7 weeks. So there's no issue with me in Brazil. There's an American woman. I was like, yeah, let's go shoot pool at this pool hall nearby. So I took a shower, got dressed. About 10 minutes before the meeting time we're supposed to have, she's over here looking me up, pulling up articles from CNN. And I'm like, so instead of her getting ready, she was trying to find a reason to sabotage it. And so that was usually one of my average experiences in the States. Like that happened a lot there. And yes, you can have success, but you're gonna have to deal with that. Like for every 10 chicks you even for every 10 numbers you get, which is as hard as getting a college degree there, it seems, just getting 10 phone numbers. Out of those 10 phone numbers, that type of scenario or them trying to sabotage it is going to happen 9 out of 10 times. And then the last one you go that you get a date with, she's going to be shit testing you the whole time. She just didn't try to figure out something was wrong with you before she got there. But now that she's face to face with you, she's trying to make it seem like something's wrong with you. Like I had a chick showing high interest when I was in Dallas, high interest, really, really enthusiastic to go to the date. I meet her in person, whole nother energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like whole nother energy. Just 10 minutes before, she was texting me and calling me super, sounded like she wanted to kiss me through the phone. When she got there, I mean, you would have thought I never knew her. You would have thought I never knew her. And then she was like asking me if I was gay. And I'm like, why are we, why,
Why would you go
what,
on a date with her if you were gay?
yeah, if you thought I was gay, what are you even here for? Okay, but yeah, so that it's too much confusion over there. It's too much confusion. It's not the reason that I like dating in other countries is because there's clarity. Like usually the chick either likes you or she doesn't. Yes, women play games everywhere, but it's not nowhere near as common in other places as it is there in the States. Either she likes you or she doesn't. If she thinks you gay, she's not going on a date with you. Unless if she's into bisexual men or something. I don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
they know what they want versus it's in America, they have the thing where they feel like they don't need a man. So they're viewing you essentially as entertainment. They're not viewing you as somebody that they want to get to know or date. You're just a toy to them. You're entertainment.
Exactly. You're like a free meal, some validation, some attention. So I get where you're coming from, man. For real, for real. But because I wanted to cover some stuff over here in the States before we start really diving to other countries. But so what do you think about those game coaches? Like what do you think about them? Do you think that there's any because a lot of the time they're gonna say, "Oh, you need game, you need game. You don't have the success here in the United States because you don't got game." What do you think about that? Do you need to have game? Like, what do you think about that?
Well, now that I'm being asked this question again, I can reframe my answer different than what I would have answered it like before. I am an adult. I don't play games, right? Like, if I say if I approach you and I say, hey, I thought you looked good. I want to come speak to you. Let's exchange numbers so we can see each other again or keep in contact, whatever. That's either you want to do it or you don't. I just finished a book about negotiations. And that's a very good book I read. And I've been implementing all of those facts. I mean, all of those skills and stuff he was talking about in the book to persuade people to do things that I want to get money. I'm not doing that with a woman. Either you want to fuck with me or you don't. I'm not finna. Well, if she's not interested, flip a coin and say, I'm not. No, I'm not doing none of that because she's not gonna do that for you. So
Mm-hmm.
no, absolutely not. My motto in life is I could die tomorrow. I would rather die trying to chase financial freedom. I'm not gonna die if I have to chase you. You're not even interested in the first place. So I'm not doing it. No.
I mean, you we're gonna get to Brazil, but you and I both know how it is in Brazil. Like, you don't gotta do all that shit. You don't gotta play no games or nothing to get people out there. It just comes. You know, you just be who you naturally are, and people either gonna vibe with it or they're not. But they're gonna let you know if they do. It's not like over here where they'll give you like hot and cold signals. You know, that's
That's a
how it
good
be over
description.
here.
Hmm.
So let's get into Brazil now. Now let's go overseas. Now I just wanted to cover inland first. So what was it that attracted you to Brazil in the first place? Out of all the places in the world, why Brazil? What connected you to Brazil?
I was always interested in. I was always fascinated by the way how the people look there. I was always fascinated by Portuguese. Like I like Portuguese more than English. So I learned Portuguese, and yeah, it's a beautiful language. The weather is always nice here, and I've always seen like postcards of the Sugarloaf Mountain in Rio and all that kind of stuff. It's a it's Rio is one of the most visited places in the world, so it's a place that a lot of people have interest in. But I was just always fascinated with their high energy culture. And if you've been to Brazil, for anybody watching, it's like you've been to Salvador Bahia. If you go to Salvador Bahia, there's people, and even Rio is like this too, but Salvador Bahia has a little more. There's live music everywhere. People are beating on drums everywhere. Everybody's sitting outside drinking, eating, and it's on the beach, so it's warm weather. People playing soccer on the beach. There's 500-600 people at the beach kicking it like they're at the club, basically. So, and that's everywhere you go, at least in the coastal city. Well, at least let's say Salvador, Rio, and maybe Cabo Frio or something like that. But in Fortaleza, like if you go to those places, that culture is very similar across the nation, and so that's a high energy. And so when you interact with people, they're high energy. Versus in the States, like yeah, you people think it's strange to say hello to a stranger. Like it's they I've literally heard people, especially the younger generation that's like in high school right now. I've heard them say stuff like, "Why would you speak to somebody you don't know?" Because that's the way humans have met each other for thousands of years. That's why. There's nothing wrong with that. So those people, they got their mentality. That country is done, man. That once people can't interact with each other, everything else starts to crumble apart.
Yeah, and that's how it is in the United States. Like, you can go a whole day without talking to someone here, man. You could
Hmm.
get anything
Hmm.
delivered to you. You go outside, you go to an elevator, and you're trapped with like 5, 6 people. Everyone's just on their phone. No one's talking to each other. It's
Hmm.
crazy how antisocial we become as a culture, as a nation. And so when a couple of us go to like Brazil or Colombia, wherever, where it's like the opposite, they're more social. Like, everyone knows each other's neighbors, everything. It's like a culture shock. They're not used to that. But here's another thing I wanted to go over with you. So Portuguese, because you're one of the very few content creators I know that, because you're technically trilingual, right? Right, Austin? You can speak three languages, technically speaking.
Yeah, Spanish, Portuguese, and English.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I got the facts straight. So me, I'm also trilingual. I'm actually learning Portuguese as we speak. I've been learning for like a year and a half, some change. So can you go over what you had to do to get fluent in Portuguese?
So before I even went to Brazil, I spent 2 hours at least per day because I was dedicated. I really wanted to go to Brazil, and if you really want something, uh, you're going to show interest in it. Which is back to what I was saying about the women. That's the reason why I'm not chasing them, because if they want something, they're going to show interest. But anyway, 2 hours per day I would spend on Duolingo, and Duolingo is not effective for you to study on there and think you're gonna just go out there and just start talking to people like you just really know the language. For me, I would say that Duolingo is good for vocabulary, where you can identify the words, you know what they sound like, but you're not gonna be able to put them together in a sentence and without stopping and thinking until you actually interact with some people that are talking to you, and then you're listening to music. Some people say listen to movies. I mean, watch movies. I couldn't. That's not. I found that to be extremely difficult because you're reading English captions trying to, or vice versa. It's the movies are moving too fast as well. So I think listening to music, because you can always go through, pause a song, and look at the lyrics. And if you can remember the lyrics, because if you like it, you remember the lyrics. You can remember those phrases. But Duolingo music, and I was doing Duolingo for 2 hours a day for 2 or 3 months before I got there. So by the time I got there, I was able to speak very generally. I couldn't really hold a deep conversation, but I could order food, talk to the taxi driver, stuff like that, read signs. But I was also, as I said before, I was communicating with women, with a few women before I got there for um, a couple months, and so that helped a lot as well.
You know, I agree with you 100%. I actually hired a tutor. So I have a tutor.
Hmm.
She's from Minas Gerais, from Belo Horizonte. And
Hmm.
we every single week we meet up for an hour, just talk, 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 talk. Duolingo, the way I view it, is kind of something in between. So I use it in between the lessons. So if I'm not having a lesson one night, I'll do an hour of Duolingo, whatever. Or I'll listen to some music, like what you said, and study the lyrics. Just listen to it over and over and over. Like the more you like, my personal thing is understanding it is the most important part in the beginning. That's just my opinion. Because if you can understand, you can somewhat come out with something to respond. But if you can't understand, how you're gonna respond? So for me, my main focus my first year was understanding it, understanding it, understanding it, and knowing the basic terms. And then once I understand it, then it's okay. Now let me come up with phrases, sentences, a response. I mean, that's actually helped me out tremendously to where I can understand anybody now from any part of Brazil. But the
Correct.
reason why I mentioned Portuguese, Austin, I don't know if you had any other points when it came to the language, but
Uh,
the reason why I mentioned, yeah,
no, no, go
nothing,
ahead.
yeah, the reason why I mentioned Portuguese is because it's key to unlocking so many doors in Brazil. Because I'm a Latino man, I'm from the Dominican Republic. So basically, anywhere in Latin America, for the most part, anywhere in the world, most people speak English and Spanish. Those are very popular languages. However, when you go to Brazil, it's different. It's straight Portuguese. Only 1% of the population speaks fluent English. So, you're not going to really meet too many people that can speak English very well. So, when you're out there, you're going to be lost in the sauce a little bit if you don't know anything. At least with you, you were prepared, you learned, you met people. I did the very same thing and it helped out. But I know people that go out to Brazil and they have a terrible experience because of that. So how has learning Portuguese helped you out with the women out there in Brazil?
It's a day and night experience, man. I say
Yeah,
it's just obvious, right? I mean, imagine this scenario for the dudes that think that they don't need to learn Portuguese going to Portuguese speaking countries like Portugal. Well, maybe not Portugal. They speak English there as well.
yeah.
That's Europe.
Cape
But
Verde,
uh,
I guess.
Brazil, Mozambique, Sao Tome, um, Angola, Cabo Verde, um, and East Timor. If you want to go to any of those countries, I guarantee you, you're not. I've been to Mozambique and Brazil, and you're not. If you go to Brazil without speaking Portuguese, it's literally like coming to the United States not knowing English. So imagine this. Imagine, and especially, guys want to date women, so they like, oh, go out to big cities and go to smaller cities, so you're more of a wow factor, right? So imagine you are a woman, and a Mexican is in the middle of Idaho that doesn't speak English wants to take you on a date. That is a huge red safe. That's a safety. That seems like a safety concern to women because it's like, oh, this dude is in the middle of nowhere, a foreigner, and he doesn't speak the language. I'm probably about to get trafficked or something. Now there are some women that are like, wow, okay, they just want to fool with a foreigner. That does happen. I've experienced that too. But if you want to have a broader selection, you need to learn a language. I mean, I know when I was in Texas, like I wasn't really gonna entertain no Mexican chick that didn't speak English. Like maybe smash her one time, and how I can't even talk to her. So it's kind of common sense. If you're gonna go somewhere, you need to be able to communicate.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree with you, man. It is common sense, but unfortunately, a lot of people, for some reason, still don't get that. So they'll go to Brazil thinking it'll be as easy as a Colombia or as a DR, and it's not like that. It's so challenging over there. Like my personal opinion, the dating scene in Brazil is challenging, but it's highly rewarding. That's the way I view it. So for me, when I went out there the first time, I barely knew Portuguese, but I knew a little something, something, and then I got by, but like it was still challenging to seal dates and do things. Now I realize it's different. Now I can actually speak a whole conversation with them and they fuck with it. And so I realize it's opened so many doors for me. So definitely, guys, learn Portuguese if you're serious about Brazil. Now, if you're just going there for a weekend, whatever, which I mean, weekend doesn't really make sense; it's too far. But you're going out there for
Yeah.
vacation, whatever, right? You don't got to learn it; just learn a couple new terms. But if you're serious about Brazil, then definitely learn Portuguese. But let me ask you this, Austin, because you said something that I thought was very interesting. Because there are a lot of guys that I've heard in travel space that basically say that if you want to find yourself top caliber women, go to the small cities. Because a lot of people, what they say is a Rio de Janeiro, Sao Paulo, they'll say a lot of the most beautiful women, 80% of them, supposedly, this is what they're saying, that it's P for P. So if you're 8, 9, or 10, you're P for P. What do you think about that? Is it accurate, like from your experience?
In the big cities, I did find that to be more true often
Mm-hmm.
than not. Now, if you're in Salvador Bahia, that's not the case. If you're in Manaus, that's not the case. If you're in Recife, that's not the case. But I did, especially, I really didn't see it until I got to Sao Paulo. Yeah, in Sao Paulo, like the badder they were, the more inaccessible they were. I mean, and I believe it had a lot to do with pay for play. But I've heard a few people say that, and yeah, I could believe it. I think that there's always outliers. There's always some of them that are really beautiful that ain't on that. But yeah, those ones that you see that everybody will, yeah, in Rio and Sao Paulo, it does seem that that is what it is. What do you think?
Well, I personally think everything you said, I agree with you on that. Because at first I used to disagree with people that said that because I didn't know any better. Because from my experiences, I didn't experience that. But the more I went, the more I started talking to people, the more I started realizing, shit, they're right. You know what I mean? The more people you talk to, eights, nines, and tens, you realize all these girls are monetizing, or they're monetizing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because the thing is, bro, the economy for them it's so hard. And if you're a beautiful woman, you're gonna think, all right, what's the easiest way for me to make money? You know, and usually that's being a cam girl, that's being P for P, anything like that, because they know that's a quick fix to make their money. And I've talked to girls out there, and a lot of them like they tell me, hey, this is what I do, this is what I got to do to put food on the table. So I'm like, all right, listen, I can't judge you. It is what it is. You do you. But yeah, that's what I've noticed. And I've noticed when I do talk to girls from small towns, it isn't like that because P for P isn't as prevalent. A lot of these girls that do P for P, Rio, Sao Paulo, they're coming from these small cities. They're going to Rio to make their money because they can't do it in a smaller town. Like I know there's this hidden gem. I don't know if you heard of it, Austin. It's called Joan Pessoa. I don't know if you ever heard
Joy
of it.
Pessoa, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I know, I knew you knew about it, but I've met so many fantastic women from there, and that's considered like a small town, lesser known. And I've met eights, nines, and tens there that weren't P for P. So I think, for the most part, I think that theory is correct from my personal experience.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, did you want to add on anything else to that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been meaning to go to cities like Belém and Joy Pessoa. Though I've been wanting to go to Joy Pessoa since last year. So yeah, whenever I go back, I will go for sure to that city.
So let's move on real quick because this is a question I ask all the Brazil people. So Rio or Sao Paulo, which one's better?
But that's a really tough one, man. I mean, it depends on what you like. So if you value being at the beach, obviously Rio, because the beach in Sao Paulo is an hour away. It's not even in the city of Sao Paulo. It's on the other
Mm-hmm.
side of the
In the
state,
state.
basically. Yeah. So I mean, and it also depends on what crowd you want to be around. Do you want to be around? If you want to be around movers and shakers, that's Sao Paulo. That's like their New York City. That's the most populated city in the global South. Last time I checked. So there's a lot of opportunity. Sao Paulo is more modern. Sao Paulo on paper, I think, is more dangerous than Rio, but I felt more safe there than I did in Rio. Uh, so I guess it's concentrated in certain areas that's raising those numbers. But Rio is like a very hard to defeat place. I think they all serve. It's really hard to answer this question because it's. I think they all have their own purpose, but I think I would still okay if you want to kick it. The Rio is going to be the spot. But I noticed whenever I was in Sao Paulo, I was a lot more focused on making money because the culture was less laid back. So long term, Sao Paulo might be better for you, but you could do both because they only an hour away by flight. So that's the best part.
I think Sao Paulo, like when I was in Sao Paulo, I felt more motivated to make money. When I was in Rio, I felt motivated to get in shape. Because everyone out there in Rio's in shape. And what I tell people when they come over to Brazil or Rio specifically is if you're trying to have success out there, what I learned the hard way is you got to be in shape. And not only do you need to learn Portuguese, you got to be in shape and you got to be able to be social. Sao Paulo on the other hand is more about like status, the way you dress. It's a little bit different, more Americanized in my opinion
More
compared to Rio.
Americanized for sure.
Yeah, because I know you definitely agreed with that. That was just my experience. I felt like the girls, even the girls, if you talk to like Paulistas, they have very Americanized mindsets. Like they're about like 9 to 5, what I mean, dress sophisticated and all this, listen to American music. That was just the vibe
Don't
I
want
got.
any
And
kids.
yeah, yeah. A lot of them knew English too, like much more than Rio. Rio, I barely encountered people that spoke English out there. So I would say, the girls out in Sao Paulo are more bilingual. You're more, bound to meet a bilingual girl out there. But no, I just wanted to ask because I know the last time you were in Brazil, you were in Sao Paulo. And you had your gripes with Sao Paulo. Can you go over those real quick?
I mean, in hindsight, it was a good trip. And I noticed that a lot about places that maybe I complain about while I'm there. When I leave and I'm able to, because whenever you're able to step back and look,
Mm-hmm.
overall, I would definitely go back to Sao Paulo. But the thing is, I wouldn't go to Sao Paulo single because like
Mm-hmm.
it's not as bad as America for dating, but it's challenging, competitive. You can get dates. I went on 5 dates while I was there. I was there 5 weeks, so that's good. But in Rio, it would have been Rio is like you're gonna be on overload. And that has its cons too. I had to leave Kenya because I was on the overload. That shit damn near broke me. Like financially, damn near broke me. Not because I didn't have income coming in. It's because my income was just going all over the place. And then the income started slowing down because I wasn't paying attention to it. So that's why Sao Paulo is still a better option to me than Rio. But the things overall, Sao Paulo was a very well maintained city from what I saw, plenty of stuff to do. You know, uh, Access to about everything. Now Brazil is not good for electronics because of their taxes and stuff like that, but
Mm-hmm.
you had
Yeah.
access to that stuff, access to rooftops, access to nice clubs, a huge American expat community out there, access to trains. There everything is in Sao Paulo. There's nothing that's really not there. But overall, I love the city. It's a great city, but yeah, the dating scene there is it could be a little challenging for sure. It's not the worst, but I think my issue with dating there was whenever I was approaching women on the street, they seemed kind of like frightened, like kind of like oh, like they weren't used to men, walking up saying
Mm-hmm.
hello. Number one, uh, and they weren't necessarily rude, but they were very flaky. They were very flaky. Yeah, they would flake. And I think that's because it's challenging. It's 65 billionaires last time I checked that live in Sao Paulo. So if they got that many billionaires, I mean, there's a lot of dudes there, even just with in the hundreds of thousands of dollars with money. Now, yeah, I think Sao Paulo the stuff that I was complaining about while I was there. It is annoying while you're there, but it's not that bad. I would definitely go back.
Yeah, no, I just had to ask you about that because I would love. I wanted to know what your opinion was about it a whole year later. Because a lot went down last year when you were in Sao Paulo. I thought some of your most interesting videos came out when you were in Sao Paulo. I thought it was fascinating what you did in Sao Paulo.
Yeah, so that you just reminded me. The other thing that I forgot was the Blackimento, like them wanting white guys and to have a whiter bloodline. That's something they do throughout all Latin America.
Yes, that's
Uh,
true.
so that was on steroids. It seemed like there, like in Rio, it might be there. It is there, but there's so many black people in Rio, they not really on that. But a lot of Nazis went to the state of Sao Paulo. After the Civil War was fought in the United States, a lot of the Confederate soldiers moved to the state of Sao Paulo and opened up a new town just for Confederate soldiers to live in that still speak English to this day. And so that culture kind of trickles into the dating scene there. And one reason that I ended up picking Africa over Brazil is because Kenya over Brazil, I should say, is because they both are like neck and neck with me. Like both places are like the best places I've been to, Kenya and Brazil. But I cannot deal with being around other blacks that are automatically putting you in a lower status, and they're black as well. Like some of the stuff I experienced with the waiters, I'm hanging out. I'm the only black guy. It's one Asian guy, and I think four other white guys, and even the Asian guy was saying that he had a similar experience when he would hang out with the white guys. Like he was damn near irrelevant. They would kind of give me like these little sideways looks, and then immediately look at my white friends and like look like they was looking at Jesus. And I'm like, yeah, I don't. Number one, I don't have to deal with that, and I'm not dealing with that either. But otherwise, it's still great. But you got to realize that you're gonna run into that situation a lot, especially if you're hanging around white people.
So Austin, there was something that happened. I don't really remember all the details about it, but I think there was an incident that happened to you in Sao Paulo where a girl, was she arguing or something like that with a guy, like some white guy, and then you try to step in and she told you to back, something along those lines. I forgot
Were
what
you
it was
talking about at a
exactly.
club?
Yeah, something like that.
It was at a
Where
club at
some girl told
nighttime.
you to back off or something.
I think I was recording myself talking, and I think she wanted some attention because the camera wasn't even on her, and she started speaking in English like, "I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to be on camera." And I had my friend Casey with me. He's a white guy. He was doing more communicating with her than I was, but I think she just wanted some attention. Like, yeah, that the camera wasn't even on her. I think nobody in the chat that was watching that day even knew what she looked like. So she was thirsty for attention. That's all that was.
Yeah. I mentioned that just simply because at the time that you made that video about colorism in Brazil and all that, I didn't fully understand it because I was still very new to things in Brazil. But over time, I'm like, you know what? Austin was right. I got to give it to Austin. He was right because I remember talking to someone in Brazil, this beautiful girl from Sao Paulo, actually. And things were going good between us. And next thing you know, she was talking to some white guy behind the scenes. She didn't tell me anything about that. The dude has a bowl cut, like if it was the 1990s, scrawny dude. Like he looks like a typical dude you would see in the streets over here in the United States. Nothing too special. But because he was white, she picked him over me. And it's not even anything out of bitterness or anything. I'm just telling the story for what it is. But when that moment happened to me, and then I started to see what was going on with all my black friends, how these girls like they would like just be on top of these white guys. There was this one Brazilian girl that literally said, "We're conditioned to go after white men. Like, sorry, but we're conditioned to go after white men." And I should have known this because I'm Latino myself in Dominican Republic. I don't know if you know, but there's a saying that it's called whiten the race or better the race. That's what it's called. So all it is basically parents conditioning their children to date a white person, a light skinned person, so they can quote unquote better the race. And this is across the board in Latin America. No matter where you go, this isn't just a Brazil problem. But I don't know why I completely ignored that. So when you made that video originally, I was like, nah, there's no way. There's no way. And then I experienced it for myself and I'm like, Austin was right. So I gotta give you your flowers on that one, man. You're right about that.
Thank you. Yeah, I did an entire video. Whenever I was in Kenya, I started doing my more social topic research, geopolitical videos. And I did a video about my experience with racism in Latin America and that being one of the factors and why that is one of the factors. And Spanish, the Spanish colonies and the Portuguese colonies have some of the most racist systems set up because unlike the United States, our system was actually a little better because we were forced to depend on ourselves. They separated us. Whites are here, whites only, and then this is for the blacks. So we got our own communities, and we were able to thrive in our own communities because we depended on each other. Versus there was no segregation. They integrated everything, but they made it where the United States segregated, but we're together. But at the same time, the black man is not getting anything better than being the bus boy at the restaurant, or he's the janitor. And those got jobs that can actually provide for a family go to the white man. So these black people are forced to stay in the favela or the barrios or whatever country you're in, however they call it. In Argentina, they were able to wipe out from a 40% black population and liberation of slavery down to less than 1% today. Because whenever they had their wars where they fought against Paraguay, they put the black men at the front line so they would get ran to first by the Paraguayans, and they called them cannon fodder. They were the sacrifice. And then back home, they can't get a good job. So who are the women gonna go to? They're not that loyal to race to the point where they're gonna live in poverty if they know that this white guy will marry them. So yeah, and then they have the system of the essentially a caste system that they have there where, well, if you are mixed race, if you are mulatto, well, guess what? You can have a better shot at life. So now these women are conditioned to think, I need a mixed baby. My baby doesn't need to have, my baby needs to be less black. That's why there's so many mixed people in Latin America. And the same thing happened here in Namibia. The same thing happened in South Africa, where they had the system of, okay, blacks at the bottom, coloreds is what they call them here, which is mixed race. And those coloreds are a step above. They're a buffer in between white and black. They're not better than whites, but they're a step above. And so it incentivizes them to make more coloreds. So you
Yeah,
experience that.
yeah, I experienced that, man, and that was my like wake up call. I'm like, wait a second, why am I like being ignored? Why they are not giving me attention? And I started putting two and two together. I'm like, wait a second, I'm around white people. This girl's telling me that they're conditioned to go after white people. So it was like, all right, it all started making sense. And then I just thought about your videos, and I'm like, damn, Awesome was right. But one thing that I did notice though, because I don't like to make it seem like this is like all the women or whatever over there. But one thing I've noticed about Brazil specifically is the white women I've noticed over there in Brazil are more open to dating darker skinned men. The black women in Brazil want to go after white men. So it's like the opposites. And it doesn't apply to everybody, but that's just my observation. What do you think about that?
So I said that in my review on this whole racism thing. In Latin America in general, especially, there's some parts that just stood out significantly more than others. But in Latin America in general, I have had more success with white women than I have black women universally. So I've slept with, dated more white chicks in Sao Paulo. I could barely even get a date with the black chicks in Sao Paulo. Barely. I think I went on a date with one and she was like damn near not even black. She was just mixed. But the white chicks were digging me heavy there. The black chicks couldn't even hear me talking to them. They couldn't even hear me talking to them. So I found that to be very true when I was in Buenos Aires as well. I found that to be very true in Montevideo, Uruguay. I found that to be true in Paraguay. I found that to be true in Santa Cruz, Bolivia. The only time I think, and even Santiago, Chile it was more fair. It seemed like I could talk to black chicks, but it still was more white chicks digging me there. One thing that I did notice was where I had a significant amount of success with black women in Latin America were cities that were dominated by black people, like Salvador Bahia, Cali, Colombia, Cartagena, Colombia, places like that, where I think the psychology behind it is that they're more familiar. There's more of them there, so that everybody can't have the white guys. So they can't be on the bullshit of, oh, like there's not even enough white guys there for you. So you're gonna have to be more open. Versus in Sao Paulo, yeah, that's not the case.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man. I definitely agree with you on that, man. I just had to state that because there's some things working for us a little bit when we're out overseas, when we're in Brazil. So I had to state that because me myself, I consider myself black. I know a lot of Latinos won't consider themselves black. They'll say they're white, whatever the case is. Because I know in Brazil specifically, as you know, there are certain people that are tan skin that are considered white in Brazil. Which, if they go anywhere else in the world, they go to the United States and Europe, they're considered Spanish. They're considered black. They're not considered white. But since it's a thing in Brazil, they're considered white. I always thought that was strange how they do color out there. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about or not, but that's
I call
kind
it
of
an
what I've been
identity
told.
crisis.
Yeah.
It's an identity crisis, and I've noticed the same thing in South Africa. I used to date a South African chick, and they have that colored black white caste system, racial hierarchy thing. And yeah, I remember I seen a photo of her with so much. She was probably about my skin color. I mean, I'm a little darker than I was when I was in Kenya, but I was a little lighter than this. But she was around the same, about a shade lighter than I am right now. And I remember I seen a photo of her that she put on her WhatsApp story where she has so much makeup on that was making, and it didn't match her neck. So it
Hmm.
made it look like she just splattered a birthday cake on her face. And I'm like, I know exactly what that is. And it was actually scary. Like, I actually got kind of scared looking at the photo, like, damn, she got like a mental illness or something. Like, this making, she looks crazy to even post this. So that goes into the identity crisis. They don't even, there's some people in Brazil that, yeah, they're calling themselves white and they don't look white at all. You know, there's stuff like that that's going on there.
And even when it comes to crime, like I didn't realize how big race plays a role in Brazil specifically until late
Hmm.
into my time in Brazil. But another thing I realized is I remember I was talking to this one Brazilian girl. It's always a Brazilian girl telling me shit for some reason. But I was talking to her and about like the crime there, the phone theft, because I was a bit concerned about that. And she was like, "Oh, you don't got to worry about it as much because you're dark. You know, like they only go after white people. Those are the ones they go after. So that's for all my white people watching this, it can work against you too. But that's something. It's crazy how like she just said that and she thought that was okay to say. Like, oh no, don't worry about it. You're black. Like they're going after white people. That's what she told me.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing here in Africa. Like, you can get everybody gets scammed in Africa. Like they have a culture where they constantly trying to get over. And in specific, that's more so East and West Africa. In the South, it seems that they've understood that. But yeah, if you're in Senegal, they're gonna try to get over you, you black, white, no matter what. But the white, you probably gonna get double charged. The white guys getting quadruple charged because they have built a hierarchy throughout history with colonization and modern media now making them always look good and like they can't do any wrong, and they seem like they have the most wealth in the world, which I believe they do, but that makes them a target. They look at it for the past 500 years, blacks have been viewed as slaves basically. Even in Turkey, they didn't stop slavery in Turkey until like the 60s, and they enslaved us, so we are always used as the bottom of, so they not even, they looking at, oh, this is just like just a nigga, like, he ain't got nothing, that's how they look at us.
Austin, I'm cracking up about you mentioning Turkey because I actually like Turkey. I spent a lot of time in Turkey, and I know you got recommended to go to Turkey, and you went, and your experience was probably like the opposite of my experience. And I think you went into a club. They didn't let you go into the club. Um, but can you go over your experience? I know where this is completely something different, but you just reminded me about Turkey. How's your experience in Turkey? Would you ever go back to Turkey?
So if I go back to Turkey, it wouldn't be Istanbul. And the sad part about it is, for me, Istanbul is like a very beautiful city with a
Yeah.
lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of tourists there. There's a lot of great, great food. Uh, the weather's great. It's affordable, but it is affordable. But I spent a lot of money because they have this thing of, they got, what I noticed, they were very, and I was there for a month, and so they were overcharging a lot and like getting over all the time, damn near like Africans. So that was in Istanbul. I went to Antalya for, I believe it was, what, 4 days. I did like Antalya a lot more vibe wise. It was hot. The people were more relaxed there. I didn't see one hijab while I was there, so I guess they were a little more westernized, or they weren't as religious there. I didn't even hear the little mosque calling thing,
Yeah,
whatever they
they may
call it.
do
I
like
didn't
three
even hear
times a
that there.
day.
Yeah, but in
Yeah.
Istanbul you hear it, and I liked Istanbul actually. It was like a nice vibe there. It was, the people were friendly there, but there were, and I know that might sound like it's contradicting what I originally said, which is that they were racist. There were friendly people there, but there's always going to be racist people everywhere you go, but there was enough racist people that I encountered there for me to get online and talk about it. Like, okay, this is a little more than usual, and some of the shit was just like unnecessary. Like the club thing, whatever. It's a club. I don't have to go to clubs, but I just noticed that we couldn't get into. We tried 4 or 5 clubs that night, and we couldn't get into a club until we got a white guy that literally had to vouch and say, "No, they're with me," and then they let us in. But they had just told us at that same club it was couples only, and then we see a pack of 4 or 5 white guys. They don't even stop them; they go right in. So that, and the same thing actually happened in Italia. My mom, she's a woman. They told her couples only whenever she was trying to go, and so she was in Italia with a guy. And even when he showed up, he's another black guy. They damn near didn't even let both of them in, but they just said couples only. So it was kind of like, this has to be exactly what it looks like at this point.
Yeah, it is. And
Yeah.
I wasn't exposed to racism when I did get a couple weird looks out there because at the time I was dating my ex. She's Russian from Moscow, and typical white girl, and I consider myself black. So when we were walking together in the streets, people out there would be looking at us a little funny because there's a lot of Russian girls out there in Turkey, and they're
Mm-hmm.
sought
Mm-hmm.
after heavily. Like if you're Russian
Mm-hmm.
and you're single, there's gonna be a lot of Turkish men after you. And I know in
Mm-hmm.
Antalya, there's a lot more Russians over there, and they call it Little Moscow over there in Antalya.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I just wanted to ask you about Turkey because I thought your experiences in Turkey were very interesting. But let's go back to South America. There's another country in South America that I would love to ask you about because it's a big one. I think you know where I'm going with it. But Colombia, what's your
Mm-hmm.
opinion on Colombia? I feel like you were never really a big Colombia guy, and I get why because it is a place a lot of Americans are there. It feels like Disney World. But what's your overall opinion on Colombia?
Yeah, so to piggyback off what you just said, Medellin is basically Disney World. That's literally what it feels like, especially when you go to Parquedes and El Poblado, and you go to that area. It's literally like a playground. Now, outside of that area, it is a little more chill, but like you're not gonna be able to get away from us over there. Like Americans, you're not. That place is if you want a low key spot, and yeah, you're not getting away from us there. Cartagena is even worse. There's even more of us over there. It's even, and the thing about Cartagena was the tourist zone is not safe. And the other parts damn sure ain't safe.
You talking about like the clock tower area, like Wallet City?
Yeah, it was. I was supposed to be in Cartagena for a week, and it's expensive, man.
Yeah, I think it's more
It's
expensive
expensive.
than Medellin.
Yeah, I went into a club there and I had a drink, and yeah, they wanted $25, and I was like, damn, that's more than I paid in Dallas. Like that $25 for a drink, and I'm walking outside and I'm about to get mugged damn near. Like, yeah, right. So I didn't really think the bang for your buck factor was there in Cartagena. Medellin, you do get bang for your buck, but it's not safe and it's oversaturated with Americans. That could be, I mean, it depends on if you want to be around Americans, that could be good or bad. But Cali, Colombia is my vibe. There's nothing to do there. But the women are very beautiful there. Very beautiful, very friendly. The whole whitening the blood thing is all over Latin America, but it seemed like it was less visible there. I didn't really have a problem. I had plenty of black women, and beautiful black women too, that I was dealing with down there. So I enjoyed that. It was cheap, slow, so you didn't feel like you was missing out on nothing. The women were friendly. The weather was good. So out of the three cities that I went to in Colombia, that was my preferred.
So the reason why I also mentioned Colombia is because there was a huge incident that happened to you over there in Colombia, where I believe you were by the clock tower and a
Hmm.
local had told you to stop recording. Can you go over that and what happened exactly?
Yeah. So this is why I say Cartagena is just unnecessarily dangerous, especially at nighttime. I mean, during the day it's okay, but at nighttime. And yeah, they even did a thing where they brought out. I've never had nobody bring out a gringo menu to me, but when I was on the beach there, they had a menu. They had my menu, and then they had the real menu. So I had never. I've heard of that stuff, but I never had it happen until I went there. Uh, but it does happen all over the world. But that was the first time it happened to me, so it didn't make my experience much better. But there's these Afro Colombians doing this African dance or whatever they're doing, it's white folks standing around recording everybody. So I'm like, oh, this is obviously a tourist area. If you got white folks doing it, you know, it's got to be the tourist area. I walked over about 2 more blocks, about a minute to a minute and a half walk, and then I got 3 dudes charging me up, telling me to put up the camera, and they didn't do anything, but it was just the way how it looked and it felt. I was like, damn, I feel really unsafe right now. Like I feel like, you know, if I keep walking down the street, like it's not gonna be a good idea. So the way how they charged me up was so bad that I literally went back home, bought a plane ticket. I was in Peru the next day.
I mean, the way that one specific guy was coming at you was crazy. I mean,
Yeah,
there's no need for anyone to come at anyone like that. Like, if you truly got a problem with someone recording, you could tell them nicely. You gotta be all like with an attitude and
yeah,
everything the way he was. And the crazier part, Austin, is you actually spoke to this guy on a live stream, right? On a panel.
yeah.
Yeah, so you did get your, you got your chance to let him know what it is. So I thought that was cool how you guys were both on that panel and you kind of got to let off some steam, because that guy was pretty wild, man. The way he was talking to you that one day.
Yeah, he had home court advantage, but like, yeah, that, and so that's the thing. Like that type of stuff typically is gonna, like, if you're in the USA, you're gonna be thinking before you talk to somebody, like especially in a place like
Mhm.
Texas. Like people carry guns in Texas. If it's 3 of y'all charge somebody up like that, like legally they can take you out of there. So
Mhm.
I was trying to tell him that on live, like, bro, I could have legally shot you in that scenario that you put me in. I'm just in a different country, so that doesn't work the same way. But yeah, it's just part of being out of bounds.
Yeah, but I'm glad everything was all right, man. You know what I mean? I want to make sure I want everyone to be safe overseas. That's definitely the most important part, especially a guy like yourself. That's motivating, inspiring people out here. But the incident I wanted to talk to you about earlier, but I think Turkey got me a bit distracted, was actually about Brazil. I think that's the big one. So what exactly happened in Brazil?
So back in those days, what was it? That was almost, it'll be 3 years ago, January 12th, I believe that was. That I was still in my red pill phase, heavily comparing American women to Brazilian women, just foreign women in general. And so I was very unfiltered back then. Like I still am unfiltered, but like I was unfiltered. Like YouTube doesn't have policies or nothing unfiltered. I don't know how the hell they didn't take me off of YouTube, because I don't know how I didn't get canceled a long time ago. But anyway, we were doing some street interviews, just coming up with some different content, and we were asking Brazilian women that, and I don't really make content about dating in other countries anymore. It's just too much that comes with it. It's never good. And even in your personal life, when women see that kind of content, it tends to run them off.
That's
So
true.
yeah, it's definitely like, if you want to be on that fresh and fit alpha male strategies, like one thing that they don't talk about, your personal life, that really fucks it up with women in your personal life, big time. I'm telling you from experience. So I was still in that stage, and I was asking a chick on the beach, because in Brazil, women kiss. I say, like, if a woman doesn't kiss you when she meets you, she doesn't like you, because the kissing thing there is just like mandatory. If she like you, she'll say, "Hey, I
Like
was
the
always
3 second
shocked."
rule.
Yeah, within 3 seconds, 5 seconds, I've had women literally approach me and they were looking, smiling, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I want to kiss you." That's the first thing they say, and in their culture, that's a normal thing for them to just walk up and kiss somebody that they like. Huge culture shock. So I felt the need to get online and talk about it. Like, hey, let me ask her. It was a white chick. What, you know, how soon would you kiss him? Well, if I like him right away, I'm like, oh, okay. So how soon would you go home with him? If I'm free, I think she said something like, if I'm free, then she'll do it. I'm like, oh, yep, that's why I need to get y'all's passports. And I ended the video there because I know how to make the sound bite. The only thing is, I took that in Salvador, but the next day I was flying to Sao Paulo. So I landed or it was that night. I think it was that night I was flying to Sao Paulo. So I didn't upload it until I got to Sao Paulo. It was about 3 a.m. Uploaded it, woke up. The next morning, that video already had a couple 100,000 views. And so I was like, oh, okay, it's doing good. Overnight it did some good numbers. I'm going to start posting more on Twitter. And so as I'm walking through, I'm going to the gym. My phone is vibrating so much that it's like overheating and running out of battery. I'm not even using it. It's just I'm getting that many notifications from Twitter. It must have vibrated like 2,000 times, I swear. And so by the time I got to, I'm just glimpsing at the messages. I'm seeing American guys talk shit like they always have. So I didn't really pay no mind. And then when I got back home, I literally looked at it and I had about a 500,000 views. About an hour later, I had about, I believe it was like 750,000 views in an hour. So it jumped up a lot. And then 15 minutes after that, it was at 800,000. So I'm like, let me read the comments, see what people think. I'm getting death threats from Brazilians. I'm getting a lot of heat. So I didn't care about the Americans. I'm not even in America. I've already pissed them off many times. I don't care. But I'm in another country now, so if I made the locals mad, I might be a little unsafe now. And the amount of attention is getting is kind of crazy. So, long story short, that video by the end of the night had got to about 2 million views the first day on Twitter, and so that was over viral. Like that, viral is considered like 1 million views within Twitter. That was at 2 million. So then I was reading through the comments, and there was this female. I think she was like a feminist politician. She was saying like, I'm gonna make sure this gets put all over global Mundo Negro. I'm gonna make sure this is all over the news tomorrow. And she wasn't bullshitting. The next morning, I had to buy a plane ticket because I just felt so unsafe. I couldn't drink water. I was nervous because I was shook. I was like, damn, I've never been through that. I didn't have the heat, but not like this. And so I was at the airport and I'm getting texts from people telling me, yeah, you're on the TV, you're on the news, this, that, and that. I'm like, damn. And so everything started to seem like it was coming after me at that moment. So like whenever I put my passport, first of all, I put my mask on. Luckily, COVID was nearby enough, so I put my mask on, and just to make it seem like I don't know, I'm still in some COVID mentality or something. And so I handed the lady my passport. I swear to God, that must have been the longest time that they've ever took to verify your passport and your ticket and all that. So I'm thinking in my mind, like, damn, maybe they got me on some sort of no-fly list so they can lock me up or something like that. And so I got on the plane, and while I was sitting in the last seat at the very back, and a cop gets on the airplane, walks all the way to the back, and he was looking for somebody sitting next to me. And so I was thinking, damn, did they get the wrong seat number? Maybe he was looking for me. It was just a hell of a coincidence because I've never had that happen anyway. So then I didn't feel safe until I got to Thailand. So it was a last minute plane ticket. So I flew from there to Spain, to Switzerland, to India, and then to Thailand. So that's how you know it was a last minute ticket because they flew me all around the world when really I could have flew straight from there to Qatar and Bangkok. And I remember seeing all those news headlines. It was on Fox. It was on Fox in Houston picked it up, and CNN Brazil picked it up. Mundo Negro, Global, all the big news stations in Brazil. And the thing is, I'm like, don't y'all have like the highest murder? Isn't this like the highest number of murders in the world in Brazil? And this is y'all's priority? Like this is a priority. Like fix the drug dealers and all that stuff first. Don't worry about me. That's the thing about feminism. They are able to literally steer priorities off to the wrong way. There's no way that, maybe some people are pissed off, but that shouldn't have made CNN. Y'all have way bigger issues than that there. Mm-hmm. So anyway, my landlord, I was living in Salvador. She even messaged me and said that she was nervous because the police had just came to my place looking for me. And they had a few women that they caught in my videos that they went and found and had them give statements to put on the news. So it was a criminal investigation in not federally, but in the state of Bahia. Obviously, nothing came out of it because it was bullshit from the start. But it could have been bad had I not left because they still have corruption there where you can get locked up for something that you didn't do or false charges. It's not like the USA where they're going to have to. In the USA, they have to. I will say that about the United States. Their justice system is not always, but it works and it's fair. Like if you murder somebody, you go into jail. Like there's no versus in African countries. If you got the right amount of money, like they'll take the news, they'll take it off the news. They won't put you in jail. In America, for you to do that, like I don't know, they're gonna play it off. And like the white kid that killed 7 people in a car, I think it was in Texas, and he got probation for killing 7 people. I'm pretty sure somebody was paid off, but they still had to play it off. And these other countries, they don't. Brazil, they just gonna lock you up. That's it. Like there's not gonna be. They don't have to tell you shit, nothing. So, uh, the best decision I made was leaving whenever the heat started getting too hot. But they did an investigation. I hired a lawyer, and I went from I was living in Asuncion, Paraguay, and I went to Ciudad del Este, which is a border town that's borders Foz do Iguaçu in Brazil. And I contacted my lawyer, and it had just turned out this. So this is May 15th, 2024. That following, I believe it was November, they had just closed the investigation because they had to. There was nothing they could find. But the fact that there was still an 11th month of investigation for me saying something,
Mm-hmm.
and they were trying to throw charges on me saying like I was fooling around with children and I was running a prostitution, something that obviously was not happening. Uh, but that just goes, and this is around the same time they did it to Andrew Tate too. So I think it was like a wave of that stuff going on. It happened to Andrew Tate first, and then they did it to me 2 months later or a month later. But yeah, I asked her, is it safe for me to walk over and through immigration? So I walked across the border, got stamped in. That's what I knew. I was like, oh, okay, well, there's nothing wrong. So for everybody that likes to say that I was banned from Brazil, I've never been banned from anywhere. Not Kenya, not South. They like to say Kenya, South Africa, and Brazil. I've never been banned from any of those countries. So, but that's what happened. That was my first experience with being canceled. Now I don't know about me going back to Salvador Bahia, which I would love to, but that it was a little too much heat. And the thing is, there was some Americans that were behind all that.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. There's this homosexual Black American in Salvador that was feeding that woman information. It, we really are our worst enemies. I will say that for Black Americans, we be our worst enemy. I've seen it in Kenya. I don't know what it is, but we can't. I don't know.
Well, I to butt in and because I think a similar situation like that happened to one of your friends, Redbeard, where he had a very similar situation. Like they took a clip of something and they made it into a giant like situation, and basically they were threatening him. They were doing all sorts of stuff similar to what happened to you. And I think one of them that was like promoting it a lot, putting it up on his story, trying to spread awareness about what was going on with Redbeard, was an American guy. I'm not gonna say his name over here, but he was American. He was like spreading it out, and I'm like, why does it have to be Americans going against other Americans? And
Yeah,
my personal belief on that is, I think they just want brownie points at the end of the day with the locals there. They want, especially with the women, they want brownie points. Like, oh look, guys, like look, watch out with this guy over here. But I'm not like that though. And a lot of the time, like girls gravitates towards those guys, but I feel like those guys are probably doing crazy shit behind the scenes that nobody knows about, but they're just not putting it out on the internet. But you
yeah.
you you will always have those guys saying shit like that.
The thing is, a lot of people like to critique people like me or Redbeard and say, uh, look at they're womanizing, or they'll critique certain things that we put online. The thing is, like you just said, people have been doing this for decades. Like it's just now social media is a platform. Is those are platforms that have accessibility to everybody in the world now, and there's nobody saying you can't put that on there. You know, and really, honestly, it's good that we have social media because there's these guys that have been traveling to other countries have been doing horrible things to women in other countries, and you can't. There's no, but 30, 40 years ago, there was no way of bringing awareness to it unless if it was in a newspaper or on the news. Like now, somebody could just be done wrong and they could put it online, and yeah, it's gonna get reach. So I think that yeah, I mean, this is all part of the game, though. If you want to put yourself out there as a content creator, especially if you're like me and you're going to have strong opinions, people are going to critique. And some people take it too far with how they want to. If just like Charlie Kirk, some people don't agree with him, so they murdered him. There's those. It's I don't know. I don't know what to say, but yeah, that's just human nature, I guess.
It's just crazy the society we're living in, man, where you can't even speak your mind, you can't even say anything, without being
Yeah,
villainized or have people going after you and shit. Like I think it's a little ridiculous, and that's one of the my least favorite things about being a content creator is things like that. Because I in no way have gone through what you've gone through, Austin. Not to that like status, but I have gone through my fair share of controversies as well because I do interviews. So of course, sometimes when I interview people, I might say something that people might think is crazy or that people don't agree with, and then just the backlash that comes with it. It's kind of annoying sometimes.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah. Anything else you wanted to say in terms of that?
No, I mean that pretty much covers that entire Brazil situation. But
Because I have
yeah,
a follow up question for you when it comes to Brazil. This is probably my last Brazil question before we dive into Kenya, because we've been talking about Brazil for a minute. But if that Brazil situation never happened to you, would you still be in Brazil right now? Would you be living in Brazil like you are in Kenya?
yeah, I would, and I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, and it happens when it's supposed to happen. Because that was a negative situation, but had that never happened, I would have never found out about Kenya, or I would have found out about Kenya a lot later. Just like the situation, like I think things are, it's meant for me to keep bouncing around for a certain until I figure out until I come to the end of my journey. I don't know what's at the end of the journey, but for example, I was in Kenya and I stayed longer than I should have, so my sources of income started dropping, but my lifestyle didn't. So then I started running out of money where I'm like, oh shit, okay, I know what I need to do. I need to bounce. As soon as I bounce, views went back up. So unfortunately, the place that I love, I cannot stay for a long time. But that's good though at the same time. So I just don't think that I would still have been. I'm at 30 countries right now. I probably would be maybe at maybe 8 had that never happened, and it would just been peaceful living for me in Brazil.
Yeah, I've always wanted to ask you that because I'm like, I always thought maybe Austin would have, if things were different, maybe Austin would be in Brazil still. He would be living there. Like he probably wouldn't have explored as much as he did. And so it's nice to hear it through yourself as well because I always thought that. But like let's move on to Kenya. So what was it that made Kenya special for you that to the point where you're living in Kenya at the moment?
So Kenya is like a magical place, man. Everybody there is friendly. You're never gonna, more than likely, you're never gonna see a fight there. People don't have guns there. It's a very relaxed environment. It's not nowhere near as tense as it is in the States. It's affordable. There's a lot of stuff to do. If you drink, you're gonna do plenty of that there. So everybody's. It's a very social place, very social, and the women there are like very, very friendly. Like very, very friendly. Like, those are the friendliest women. I think they're friendlier than Brazilian women. Brazilian women are very friendly,
Wow,
but
that's a
Kenyan
big
women,
statement.
yeah, Kenyan women just got them beat. And so I got to a point where I kept telling people on my channel, like, yo, this is the place you need to come to. This place, I'm done. If you, I done hundreds of videos about Kenya. If you don't believe it by now, don't. I'm not gonna say it no more. But it's, they say humanity started in that Kenya, Uganda area of the world. Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, that in that area, and you start to, the longer you stay there, you start to feel like you could see why that is believed. It literally feels like home. And Black Americans usually don't have the lineage that goes back to Kenya, but it has a, it's one of those places you had to experience. It's a very magical place. It's very magical. And yeah, so I went there after Tanzania. I thought I loved Tanzania. I went there for, I haven't been to Tanzania since then. I forgot about it. It was just that great. I went to Uganda, Rwanda, came back to Kenya. Kenya still was beating those other places. I went to Zambia, came back. Kenya was still beating Zambia. I went to Ghana, Senegal. Kenya was still beating it. I've been to Mozambique, Botswana, South Africa, and even Namibia. Kenya still beats all of them. But for my career wise, uh, I don't need to be in Kenya because it's so great that I stopped working.
Yeah, no, and I get that, man. When you're in a place like that, like I know certain people that are in Rio right now where that's happened to them in Rio, where it's like so much fun, so much going on that all they do is drink, hang out, and next thing you know, they forget the reason they're there for. They're there to make content. They're there for business. They're there for money. But sometimes you get so distracted. So I get that, man, and I'm glad you have the self awareness to realize that. and go elsewhere. Because I ain't gonna lie, man, I want to see you back in Brazil. I want to see you back in South America because you were thriving out there, man. That was what made me like a huge fan of your content, bro. Was when you were in South America and exploring those places. So I'm excited to see what you got coming up next.
Yeah, so next on my travel plans, I'll be in Angola after this. I'm just trying to make sure everything is sorted out because Angola is going to be an expensive trip. But I'm going to go to Angola and then I'm going to go back to Kenya for a few weeks, come back here to Namibia, and then from there, I'll go to Madagascar. And while I'm there, I'm going to go ahead and hit Mauritius and Reunion Island, and then come back here again. And then I'll go back to South America for a couple weeks. And I'm thinking about, like I said, doing maybe Sao Paulo or Rio again, and then Joa Pessoa. And I wouldn't mind stopping seeing Chile again. Like Chile is a great place. It's expensive, but it's definitely a great place. Like Chile is one of my favorite countries in the world.
Yeah, no, I've never been, but after watching your videos, I'm like, you know what? I might have to put that on my list. I never even thought about going to Chile before. And that's what I'm saying, man. Like, I just got to give you your flowers, awesome. Like, you're one of those guys that you put a lot of people on. Like before
Thank you.
you, I know there was the Zoes and all those guys that they were doing this for a very long time. But I think you kind of set the blueprint for what was to come, man. Like you going to Brazil and Chile, Uruguay, all these places that people never thought about going to. Kenya, you put Kenya on the map, man. I don't know if you
Yeah,
know that, but you put Kenya on the map. Like before that, people weren't really going out to Africa like that in the
yeah,
space. So you put
yeah,
people on to things people weren't doing before.
yeah. Kenya is, well, I could say Africa is very, very underrated, especially if you're black, right? Because the racism thing is pretty much gone now. You know, it's majority black countries. Some of these countries, 99% black. So you don't have to worry about the racism thing. The cost of living, depending on where you're at, is generally going to be cheap. Like Namibia is cheap here. Botswana is a little more expensive, but South Africa is really cheap. Tanzania is cheap. Kenya is cheap. But the locals are like really fucking with us. Like black Americans, if you've been to Kenya, their buses have photos of American rappers. They call them matatu. They have Ludacris, they have Chris Brown, they have Jay-Z, they have all of our rappers, all of our Will Smith, Obama. They are fascinated with our culture there. So when we go there, they're like really fucking with us. And the women are really fucking with us. Like really. Like I cannot elaborate on that. You don't have to worry about that whitening the skin thing that you did in South America. So that's how I got stuck there. Like I always tell people, Latin America is a white man's paradise. But for us, Africa is a black man's paradise. Some people like to say that Africans white worship. And I always say the ones that have no running water, they don't have electricity, they don't have a cell phone, of course they white worship. They're ignorant and illiterate. Why wouldn't they white worship? But if you go to Nairobi, the chicks that had like, I don't know why some dudes say that. Like in Nairobi, the chicks are not there. It's not like what you explain in Latin America where you're talking to a chick and then the whole time she's dreaming about Bill Gates. You know, that's not happening
Bill Gates.
in that's not happening in Kenya. Like that's not that the we're the number one option outside, maybe outside of local men. We're the number one option in Kenya. It's not white.
Yeah. So there have been a couple incidents that have been going on in Kenya. Not to say any names, but there was a particular incident that happened not that long ago with someone that put a bad name on travelers going out to Kenya. Have you received any backlash from these type of things? Because people always like to point the finger and be like, all right, who's bringing all these people over here? Who's the cause of all this? And have you received any like pushback from locals or people out in Kenya about all of this?
Uh, on my day to day interactions, no, but I have had. For example, the last thing that happened, there was these Kenyans wandering around in some tea field, and they had these photos of us, like Bart Simpson photos, and they were saying that we were like doing horrible things, exploiting women, and all. And I think they were paid to do that because Kenyans love me. Like I don't have issues with Kenyans generally speaking. Like I get a lot of love in Kenya. But yeah, I mean, it's nothing where I can't go back, but it's somebody funding. I have to figure out who it is, but it's somebody funding all that fake outrage.
I think I know who it is, Austin. I think it's
Yeah,
that that one African lady that makes those YouTube videos. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
she could be in on it, but I like whoever it is. Yeah, whoever it is, they're sending bots to my live streams and my channels. Like you said yesterday, there was 100,000 people watching. The most I've had legitimately watching me at one point was around 1,200 people. But whoever this is, they're sending bots to where as soon as I start the live stream, 2 3 minutes later, I got 50,000 people watching. There's no way. There, if my click through rate was that high, I would be more famous than Mr. Beast. So they're doing that to try to like get the channel like shadow banned or taken down. But I've already reached out to YouTube. But I don't know. You gotta be a real loser, man, because like those bots, I looked up how much it costs to send those bots to somebody's channel, and it's not cheap. So they're spending hundreds of dollars. I don't know. I don't know what I've done for people to feel that way where they feel the need to do that, but it's part of the game.
I mean, the way I look at it, Austin, is they always shoot for the guy at the top of the mountain. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're at the top of the mountain. And so anytime that you're saying these things, you're trying to get people to change their lives, you're inspiring people, you're motivating people to travel, like people are just gonna hate on that. And you're the face of everything, of the movement, of everything. And so unfortunately, that's what's going on here, man. Like sometimes it's not even you, it's just what you symbolize. And I think
Correct.
that's what's going on over here, man. So, but keep doing what you're doing, keep fighting. I cannot wait to see what you got coming up next. Because it's gonna be absolutely fantastic to see you traveling around again. But Austin, my last question for you, and it's a very simple, basic question, but I ask this to everybody. Why should you travel as an American man or a Western man?
You should most definitely travel because there's more to the world than the United States, and you need to figure out that different circumstances, different cultures, different histories, different laws create different interactions and different mindsets with how people view the world. And I always say, outside of the rest of the outside of the United States, the way how day to day life feels, it feels like it makes sense. A lot of stuff in America doesn't feel like it makes sense. I find people in other parts of the world just be more pleasing to interact with on a day to day basis. Everybody has a chip on their shoulder in the states. You know, you can't talk to nobody. The police in the states are not police. They're aggressive. They're aggressive police. They're looking for problems. You know, versus in other countries, the police really only mess with you when you break the law. You know, versus they're looking for you to break the law in America, especially if you're black. So those are some of the differences right there. But whenever you travel, you find out more about yourself. And so if you have certain bad habits, like if you have a drinking problem and that drinking problem follows you to Chile, Colombia, Kenya, Thailand, and China, I don't think that the countries are the place, but the same thing that's following you is you. So you get to see things that you wouldn't see if you stay complacent in one place.
Yeah, so Austin, that's all the questions I had for you today, man. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you coming on, taking time out of your day to go over your experiences and answer some of my questions. Keep doing what you're doing, bro. Keep inspiring. Keep doing what you're doing, man, because you've inspired more people than what you know, man, than what you think. And I'm
Thank
one
you.
of those people. It was a absolute honor to interview you on my channel. This was an interview I've always wanted to do, and I finally got to do. So thank you so much for that, man. And any last words you have for the audience before we leave?
I mean, we've covered everything so far, but if you're looking to get in contact with me or if you want to find my channel, everything is Austin Holloman. My email is austinholloman at gmail. And yeah, thank you for having me on the show today. It was a really good interview.
Absolutely, brother. And I hope maybe in the future we could do a follow up, maybe even in person. But
Absolutely.
yeah, guys, that's basically the interview for today, guys. It was a ginormous one, but I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you guys enjoyed the content, make sure to subscribe to Austin's channel, subscribe to my channel, hit the thumbs up, of course, notification, and check out the Patreon, guys. I got a lot of good Patreon videos going on over there. So if you guys like the Brasileiras, the eye candy, all that, check out the Patreon. I got all that content there. But guys, that is the interview for today, and peace out.